The Bible is central to modern American Christianity, and rightly so. It is in almost every single house. It's in almost every single motel room. We put pieces of the Bible up in courthouses. We encourage Christians to read the Bible every day. The key to faith for many Christians today can be summarized as read the Bible more. Do you have doubts? Well, then read. Do you have fears? Well, then read. Do you want to become more Christ-like? Do you want to grow in your Christian walk? Well, then the solution is reading the Bible. And the Bible is amazingly important and amazingly helpful in the spiritual walk. There is no question about that. And there is a glorious history of Christian tradition stretching back 2,000 years that waxes eloquently about the Bible and the importance of Scripture in our lives. But when we are reading Augustine or Chrysostom, Tertullian, or Thomas à Kempis, what we are reading, we have to remember, is the best, the most educated, most eloquent people of that day and age. And we can forget that life wasn't like that for most people. Because first of all, most people couldn't read. Even if they could read, the majority of people didn't have a Bible in their own church. That only the larger churches had a Bible because it was very expensive to hand copy it. And even if there was a Bible present and someone could read in the native language, they still wouldn't have been able to read the Bible because the Bible, for much of Christian history, was available solely in Latin in Europe. So if you couldn't read Latin, you wouldn't be able to read the Bible, even if one was available. Now, this also meant that Mass itself, church itself, wasn't understandable to the vast majority of the people attending every single Sunday for centuries, because the Mass itself was led in Latin. Sometimes the priests themselves were so badly educated that they couldn't really understand what they were saying. They just knew enough Latin to mumble through the forms of the rituals. As an illustration for just how fundamentally lacking in basic biblical literacy even the priests were for much of Christian history, the Bishop of Gloucester in England around 1500, right during the era of William Tyndale, the era of Henry VIII, the era of the printing press. He sent out a survey to all of the deacons, archdeacons, and priests in his particular domain. And he found that 12% of theoretically the most religiously educated people in his area didn't have a clue what the Lord's Prayer said or who said it. You know, the most important prayer in the Bible that Jesus himself gave us. And they couldn't recognize it. Just a little over half of them couldn't list the 10 Commandments. Until the advent of the printing press and the Reformation, the average Christian never read the Bible. Many of them never held the Bible. And yet faith persisted. That might seem very strange, almost shocking to us with our modern sensibility of that the Bible is required for faith, but they got around it. They used pilgrimages as time set aside to learn about holy things and meditate on what they have learned. They used the lives of saints and saints' holy days to give them examples of what a Christian is supposed to look like. They used liturgy, focused prayers, acts of service, statues, paintings, architecture, stained glass, all as ways of telling the biblical story without using words. While their knowledge might be exceedingly lacking, the people of medieval Europe had faith. They encountered God without the Bible. And quite frankly, to the modern American Christian, that's rather shocking. I mean, I have over a dozen Bibles on one shelf. And the idea that the vast majority of Christians went through their lives with a vibrant faith, but never having read the Bible, is kind of hard to wrap our minds around. Now, was their faith perfect? Not even close. I mean, horrific theology, wanton heresies, syncretistic behaviors abounded in many, many cases. But they had faith. today, I think we can easily confuse faith with knowledge. The Bible gives us vast amounts of knowledge about God, knowledge about Jesus, but the Bible cannot give us faith. It gives us a foundation for our faith so that we know where we're supposed to go, so that we know the best way of encountering God, so that we know who Jesus is. But it cannot give us faith. It gives us knowledge, and faith comes from putting that knowledge into action. But that's something that anybody can do. Regardless of the amount of knowledge that they have, they can live it out. They can put it into action and have a vibrant faith, even with a small amount of knowledge. And we can have a vast quantity of knowledge, but a very shallow faith because we have failed to use any of the knowledge that we have gained from Scripture. So next time you hear some pastor talking about how the answer to any question of faith is more Bible, maybe take a moment and remind yourself that for 1,500 years, the average Christian did not have the Bible for themselves. The average Christian did not read the Bible, and yet they had faith. Because putting what you believe into action is something that anybody can do. And it's not something that comes from more reading. Not even reading the Bible. As always, thank you for watching. Have a great day. See you next video.